It's become divisive. Different individuals think of it differently, different communities think of it differently, and my hunch is that it will benefit none of us for individual congregations to be asked to fight about criteria and times for reopening the churches. And so, writes Bishop Elaine Stanofsky, I've taken much of that decision upon my own shoulders. Not because I'm smarter than anyone else, but because I'm the bishop. I have responsibility for the ministries of churches and agencies within this Northwest region of ours. So it's with that mindset that she issued a statement just a week ago. It goes like this: as Bishop of the Greater Northwest area of the United Methodist Church, I am extending the suspension of in-person worship through June 15th. If you looked at the calendar, June 14th is a Sunday. So the first Sunday where we might be back together under the bishop's new plan is June the 21st. Just this week, the bishop issued a 26-page set of guidelines for the reopening of churches within this greater Northwest region. Congregations, ours included, are asked to have discussions among our leadership about how our worship, our study, our welcoming, and our service will continue in this new day, this different time. And the guidelines insist there will be some changes to which we need to adjust. I've just put those guidelines in the hands of our leaders here at West Highlands United Methodist Church, and in the next couple of weeks or so, we'll be digging deep and talking much and hope to have some information to share with you. I would say now that it looks very much to me as if regathering on the 21st of June is overly optimistic. But I would also say that this is a fluid time. Things are changing every week. What seems consistent as we move through the weeks are the disagreements, the different perspectives, and in some cases, the stiffening of positions and the sharpening of the rhetoric. As we continue to shelter in place, thinking not of ourselves so much as of those healthcare workers on the front line who might be overwhelmed if the spread of this illness moves too rapidly. Thinking of neighbors and friends who could quickly grow sick and some of them pass away because of our own selfishness. People are hurting, and we're continuing to look for ways to reach out and encourage and support. You will soon find a blessing box outside the church with some basic food and hygiene supplies for people who are in need. There's a prayer walk coming. Another way to support those who are in ministry at Highlands Middle School. We've talked to the leadership there, and they welcome our presence on their campus. praying words of encouragement and support and hope in the midst of the difficulty and the challenges that they face too. As we shelter together, I wonder if some words from the Psalms wouldn't be appropriate. If they might not soften some of the positions and dull the bite on some of the rhetoric. David is on the run from Saul. He's hiding in the caves that are so common in the limestone bluffs of the Holy Land. And he says, God, I shelter under the shadow of your wing. Sheltering under the shadow of God's wing. Like chicks seeking shelter from the bite of the wind or the driving rain, so we have been. Nurturing us as we shelter have been some opportunities to check in, telephone calls, treats on your doorstep, waves and smiles. You know, I want you to know I continue to brag about you. The ways you're finding to reach out, to greet each other with smiles on the Zoom calls, even though it can be very frustrating to negotiate that the first few times. Embracing technology that seemed so strange and foreign just a few weeks ago. Continuing to be generous in your giving so that our ministry is doing just fine. Thanks to you, and thank you. Finding ways to give other than the plate we no longer pass. It's a blessing. As you shelter, feeling the presence of God, as you're able to connect with one another and with His Word, as you're tuning in to our YouTube channel, perhaps on a daily basis for the very short little meditations I've been posting, or to the Sunday morning messages that we've tried to fill with words of encouragement and music and faces of those whom you hold dear. Please continue to keep those of us in leadership in your prayers. The future is always uncertain, but it feels much more uncertain in the days in which we walk now. But under the shadow of God's wing, we can find security in the midst of uncertainty. Let's continue to be who we are. Those who look for ways to welcome, worship, study, and serve God. Those who reach beyond ourselves in the choices we make in order that God's blessing might touch the hands and hearts, the lives and souls of all God's people. We will be together. It may never be quite the same. And the time we regather seems to stretch out before us. thank you for your support and your faithfulness. Continue to be who you are. God's people. The church. Thank you.